Hey, this is Matt once again. What about in the video? There's another paid request, this time for Phil. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for Up in the Air, a 2009 film directed by Jason Reitman. And to be honest, I think this is more his kind of movie, not Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know people love that film. It's the end of the sequel. I don't care. I thought it sucked. That's my opinion. This I enjoyed much more. It's labeled a comedy, but to be honest, I don't really think of it as a comedy. I think of it as a really decent drama. I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't really call it a... There's little maybe moments of humorous stuff, but like I said, I think of this more as a drama. And I think it's a better drama than comedy. Now it stars George Clooney, who I do like George Clooney ever since I first saw him in From Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn is still my favorite, but I've liked Ocean's 11. I liked Michael Clayton. I really enjoyed. There's been others of his I liked. I even don't mind The Peacemaker, which a lot of people disliked, but I thought that was pretty decent for what it is. Yeah, it was Batman and Robin, but I don't think anybody tried to say Batman and Robin. But Up in the Air, I like... It's an interesting movie because it tells the story of a guy who thinks he's satisfied with his life, and by the end realizes just kind of the lonely existence he's made for himself. And you definitely feel for the main character, which is tough to do with the job he has, but at the same time, the job he has is interesting, and that's what made the journey intriguing to watch. And I've seen this film before. It's not a film where we watch a lot, but I saw it way back in the day and thought, oh, this is a pretty good movie. Because of the job description, it's a movie that feels like it's never stagnant. It's always on the go, because the character's always on the go. Pretty much George Clooney's character, he's hired by, as he puts it, pussies who don't have the balls to sack their own employees. Pretty much if a company's downsizing, they hire people like him to go to these places and tell the person in person that this company's firing you. And I have to think that that'd be a hell of a tough job. That someone's going to do the job. And, you know, someone would question, well, why would he even take that job? And in fact, someone even asks another person that same type of question. It's okay, well, you're not firing the person. You're hired by someone because, like you said, they're too chicken shit to talk to the person themselves. No, I don't want to do it. Have this person do it. God, that'd be such a crazy... I mean, it's a job you probably... If you like traveling and if you like having a job and you can deal with it, I guess if you need a job and you go for it, okay, but I don't think it's just a job you don't see a lot in movies, but at the same time, that's what made it a bit interesting. And because this is a guy that kind of, at this point in his life, enjoyed being on the road, being a type of guy that lives out of one suitcase. He even does seminars of, you know, how much does your life weigh? You know, what's in your backpack? You put all the stuff you have in your life in your backpack. Must be pretty heavy, huh? Now, you would be surprised how little you can live with. So this is a guy that is rarely home, rarely sees his relatives, enjoys this type of life where he, being on planes, hotels, being in bars, near the airports. You know, you wake up with nothing, man. It's kind of exhilarating. And he has this hookup with this woman from time to time, played by Vera Farmiga. Vera Farmiga, she would be in the Conjuring films. Also, meanwhile, there's this younger lady who his boss, Jason Bateman, which he's been in quite a few stuff. This young lady has this idea that, instead of sending people out there physically, would you just do the stuff by a online conference? People on a computer telling people. And George Clooney gets this not only because it would mean he'd lose his job, but also that you're talking to people that's going to be at the most vulnerable. To have someone there physically is much more prominent than just the separation of a camera or a computer screen. And it's just interesting to see, because of this unique job, how he's able to work with these people who get fired. Early on, one of them is Zach Galifianakis. I'm like, yeah, you should fire him. You should fire him for a lot of the bad movies he's done. But another person is J.K. Simmons. And it's cool to see the charm of Clooney, how he's able to rework J.K. Simmons from being angry to going, well, it says here your passion was cooking. You got into the job. When were you going to quit to focus on what you love? And, your kids probably want you to do something that you love. Like, the way he reworks it is both believable and, again, showcases George Clooney's charm. And one of the few people that could play this type of role and you still like the character. I think Jason Reitman mentioned that if he did not get George Clooney for the part, he would have cast Steve Martin. And if he cast Steve Martin, he would... How did he put it? He would have rewritten the role to make it Steve Martin's version of Lost in Translation with Bill Murray. Which that would be interesting, but... Other times he did these montages of the firings, and like George Clooney, either, again, he's this growing this growing relationship with Vera Farmiga, and they both work well. They're very playful with each other. There's a point where they open up their laptops at the same time to see schedules of connecting flights where they could meet up again to or George Clooney's with this younger lady, teaching her the things, but at the same time, she's not being too bitchy, and he's not being too mean, and it becomes sort of almost like a fatherly relationship, mentor relationship. Another recognizable person is Danny McBride. Danny McBride is going to marry George Clooney's sister. He visits the wedding. He's got cold feet. And the way George Clooney is able to reword Danny McBride, and you're talking about, hey, your favorite memories. Were you alone? Or were you with someone? Like, your favorite memories. And that's a good point. I mean, not all the time, but a lot of your favorite memories will be because you're with your friends, your buddies, or your family, or something to that effect. I mean, I know I feel the same way. Like, some of my favorite memories are like hanging out with my friends, discussing movies or doing, podcasts or things of that nature. And as George Clooney put it, everyone needs a co-pilot. And saying that out loud and getting Danny McBride to follow through. And then, spoiler alert, spoilers, who haven't, realizing that Vera Farmiga is actually married, and this was just a fling to her and fun. So she looked at it, she thought that's what George Clooney thought of it. And George Clooney probably thought that at first, but he fell in love and now realizes that once he's been grounded, Jason Bateman wants to test this conference thing. The realization of loneliness once he's been grounded. And then the sad irony is that by the end, he kind of gets back to what he wanted, meaning one of the people the younger lady had talked to committed suicide. She feels bad about that, so she quits. George Clooney sends a nice letter of recommendation. Just, I mean, it's... She didn't mean for that to happen, of course. The conference thing is shut down. He's sent out to be out there again like he wanted to continue his travel. Also, one of his goals was to get 10 million miles on the plane. Freaking flyer miles. Can't even talk. He just did the 10 million, and he's only like the 7th person to do it. And he gets like a card, and he gets the pilot talk to him. It's actually Sam Elliott. Always cool to see Sam Elliott in there. Big fan of Sam Elliott. And he mentions, wow, you're like the youngest person to get this. Where are you from? And then George Clooney doesn't know what to say, and he's like, I'm from here. It's funny, like, this desire and thought of this moment coming, and then realizing just how empty the moment is. Like, this, wanting this 10 million mile thing, and this card, and it's like, well, then what? You're still alone. You don't have a co-pilot of your own. And there's like a nice last shot where he's in front of all the departures and arrivals, and he lets go his luggage, and it's kind of that, what's he going to do? You know, is he going to continue his journey? Is he going to say, you know what? Kind of like what the younger lady said earlier. Like, if she had that, she would just pick a place and go. I mean, he has pretty much miles he could use forever. Non-stop. He could go anywhere he wants. Does he go somewhere to think of a new life and fix his life? Does he continue on this? You know, what do you want? You know, where do you want to go? Even with his last conversation with Vera Farmiga, she asked, you know, what do you want? So you don't even know what you want. And so you're kind of asking this character, like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? And I just thought it was a nice character piece for George Clooney's character. Again, this realization that his, in a weird way, structured life of minuscule and just constantly moving, and it really ended up being, I don't want to say all for naught, but what is it at the end of the day? It's more empty than he thought. It's more empty than he realized. It's more empty because he has no one to share with. Like, he has, you know, no, like I said, no co-pilot of his own, so to speak. And like I said, it's labeled a lot of times as a comedy, and I don't really know why. Because I didn't really find it that hilarious or funny. There might be a little moment here and there, like the line at the beginning where Clooney calls the people who hire him pussies because they don't have the balls to do it themselves. Like, there's little moments like that. The cast works well. You know, Vera Farmiga, you know, she plays her role well. Danny McBride, the bit role he's in, very different. He's not over the top Danny McBride. He's just, you know, regular guy. It has a lot of good looking shots where it shows like the landscape when they're flying over places, and because again they're going so many different locations, the movie has a feel of being always on the move. Whether it's when him and the younger girl have to go to all these places where he's got to teach her about this whole job of having to fire people and the downsizing bits. Whether these different, Like at one point they steal these badges to go into this like technology thing that also has a bit of a drink into it. There is one funny line where George Clooney's teaching her where to get in the line as like, get behind Asians. Don't dip behind old people. Don't dip behind people with strollers. Dip behind Asians. They're fast. They're efficient. And she goes, that's racist. And George Clooney goes, no, I stereotype. It's faster. I thought that was a funny line. I almost want to steal that line. No, I stereotype. That's faster. That's a funny line of dialogue. It is funny because it's like an hour and 50 minutes, but I didn't really feel the running time. And again, George Clooney, I think, really pulls off the character fairly well, and makes me feel sorry for him. Now, again, From Dusk Till Dawn will always be my favorite George Clooney film. Michael Clayton, I think, is a really good thriller, I guess is the best way to put it. Drama thriller. Definitely one of my George Clooney favorites. I actually didn't mind this one. I just remembered that Money Monster. I think Julia Roberts was in it. Money Monster I thought was pretty good. That's a film no one really mentions. But Money Monster, that was a decent one. I'm trying to think of all the other George Clooney movies. I don't know if this would be in the top 5. It might be. Because again, From Dusk Till Dawn, Michael Clayton would be 1 and 2. I have to think about it for a bit. But this is, again, it's easily my favorite Jason Reitman film. I'm not a fan of Juno. I'm sorry for people who love that movie. I'm not a fan of Juno. I don't think it was as funny as people make it out to be. With Ellen Elliot Page, whatever the hell the name is now. Whatever. Like I said, Ghostbusters Afterlife, I don't think he was the right fit for it, in my opinion. This, I thought, had a nice combination of drama, nice bit of heart to it, and like I said, a nice character study of this guy's little journey of, discovering once this facade he puts around him broken down to, again, just how truly lonely his existence is. Because, yeah, he got this 10 million mile fame, but he has no one to share it with. Like, the only person he's talking to is this stranger, Sam Elliott. That's why he thought of all these things you're going to say, but there's really nothing to say, because it's still you talking to a stranger, and what are you going to tell him? And what are you actually going to talk about? So again, it's a nice character study, character piece, a good, solid cast, direction, pretty solid, some nice aerial shots, and not boring to me. It was just never boring. I thought it worked very well for what it was trying to do and what story it was trying to tell. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.